I'm really glad you're here. To watch a video on healing the inner child tells me that you're really looking for healing and that you're ready to be done and to move on from some things that you've been carrying with you for a long time. It also tells me that you have a lot of courage and bravery. So thank you for being here. The first thing I am going to say is my intention in making this video is to provide hope and support and encouragement, and also to, give you some perspective. And I want you to know that healing the inner child does not mean that we have to go back and relive painful experiences in great detail and be working on that for a few years. I'm not saying that. So why is it important to heal the inner child? When we heal the inner child, we get right to the root, right to the heart of when the trauma was created. And when we have trauma coming in that does not have a conclusion or resolution or healing, we tend to carry that wound with us throughout our lives. I have known people in their 60s and 70s that are still hurting and carrying the pain of things that happened to them in their childhoods from their parents. They haven't resolved it. So no matter what age you are, you can heal your inner child. When we heal that wound, going back to the source, we clean everything out and we can move forward, we can release it. And when we don't do that, the way it shows up in our lives is maybe a long-term pattern of low self-esteem or low confidence. Maybe we have difficulty loving ourselves. Maybe we keep repeating the same bad patterns in relationships or unhealthy relationships over and over and over. We might have difficulty feeling like we're worthy of being loved, or thinking people would like us, or thinking that people would, that we're any good. And we keep looking outside of ourselves. So the need to keep going outside of ourselves to get what we're looking for tells you need to go back within. You need to turn back in and say, what is going on? What needs my attention? What am I not paying attention to? So, oftentimes we learn growing up to accept crumbs. As little children, we want love, of course, and sometimes instead of getting love, we get a little sprinkling of crumbs. Here you go, here's some crumbs, this is love. And then we get a whole lot of victimization or abuse, or some kind of painful experience and bad treatment that damages us. So then when we get into our adult lives, what do? We're still looking for that love. We're still looking for that support and that acceptance. And what we often do is we accept crumbs, more crumbs, because getting a little bit of love is better than something. And we're also very used to the pain. So we tend to settle and we tend to accept a lot of what we don't want and a lot of pain unnecessarily because we haven't healed this wound. And so we accept the crumbs when actually we could be getting the whole, let's say, loaf of bread, if we're using the crumbs and the bread, this whole loaf of bread of love. But no, because we haven't healed the wound, we accept the crumbs. And we go on and we keep getting hurt and keep getting hurt. And it's that old childhood wound that is saying, hey, look at me, pay attention, love your inner child, heal the inner child. You may not have gotten what you needed when you were a child, but you can give that to yourself now. So when you if you get into a headspace where you're thinking, say you're coming down on yourself really hard and you're saying, why don't I have it together? I am this or that age. Why don't I have my act together? Why aren't I better than I am? Other people are doing... Anyway, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, I want you to think of saying that to the little you, the 5-year-old you, the 8-year-old, the 15-year-old. Could you do that? Could you say, why aren't you doing better? And why aren't you this or that? And you should be making more money. And you should have letters after your name. You couldn't do that. So when you get into that space, I want you to imagine or put a picture of yourself when you were a kid, somewhere where you could see it. Or just imagine it in your mind. Imagine that little you and tell that little you that you are okay, that you are enough, that you are just fine, that you are loved. And tell that little you, I love you. And I love you just as you are, and you don't have to change a thing. This is making me get choked up. Goodness. So that is something I have been working on in myself, and I offer that to you. Tell yourself, whether it's in your prayers, your meditation, you can tap about this, that also tell yourself, tell the little you, the little me, I love you just as you are. You're okay. And you can make a mistake. That's all right. And it's okay if maybe others see you as weird. You're fine. And give yourself that love. So have the awareness of when you start going into that space of tearing yourself down, of not approving of yourself, of repeating the same stuff that hurt you when you were little. And instead of continuing it, which is what you've been doing all these years, change it, break that pattern, break that cycle, and say no more. No, I'm okay. And love yourself. Give yourself a great big hug. I'm getting goosebumps. Give yourself a great big hug, even literally or in your mind. And make that a practice. And this will help you to let go of this victim mentality that so many of us learn. It'll help you to let go of the pain and the wounds so that you can do something brighter, do something that lifts you up a little more, instead of doing that same thing that you've been doing for years. I'm going to stop it here for now, and I think in another video we'll do some tapping about healing the inner child. But I just wanted to give you a small bite-sized piece, and I think this is enough for today. So please let me know if this has helped you. Please feel free to comment and share this with anyone who could benefit. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm so glad you're here on this journey with me. Thank you.